the southern portion of southern Brooklyn. And we are here today because last week my office was notified that a class of 250 school safety agents was canceled. First it was diminished to 150 agents, and then it was canceled altogether. And while the mayor's office has not confirmed that it is a result of budget cuts, we were able to confirm that there is indeed a hiring freeze. And I believe this is the worst possible time to eliminate a class of brand new school safety agents. We are facing unprecedented times here in New York City. There is a global conflict happening at this time, which unfortunately has once again made New York City a potential target for terror. We need as many school safety agents in our schools as possible so they can adequately protect our children. While we understand that there will be unprecedented budget cuts as a result of the migrant crisis, there has to be some common sense utilized when making these potential cuts. Cutting school safety agents does not make any sense. It is a recipe for disaster. You only need one potential individual to bring terror upon a school that would bring unprecedented tragedy. As a result of that, we are asking the mayor's office to reinstate the class of 250 school safety agents so they could be properly trained and be deployed into our schools so they can protect our children. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our Congresswoman, Maliotakis.
Thank you, Mike, for holding this press conference. Look, there's nothing more important than the safety of our children. And this is part of a dangerous trend that the mayor has been setting for this city. We are seeing a reduction at the NYPD overall. We're seeing less cops on the street, less detectives being able to solve crimes, to put people behind bars. And now we're seeing 25% less safety agents than there were pre-COVID pandemic. We're talking about 1,200 less safety agents than we had in 2020, when there were about 30, there's now 3,900. 1,200 less. According to Local 237, which is the union that represents our safety agents, Staten Island has some of the lowest numbers across the city of New York. And meanwhile, citywide, we have seen New York City public schools have an increase in major felony crimes by 16%. We've seen disturbing trends of youth violence. Just the other day, a student was stabbed to death. And many of the crimes that are taking place are happening right around dismissal, right outside the school, or even inside the schools. And so it is critical that we have the safety agents to keep our students and to keep our educators safe. And this is part of a problem that we're seeing in New York City, where they are just dismantling school discipline. They're doing away with consequences for individuals that commit crime, whether it's a student in a school or whether it be a perpetrator out on the street. There are less consequences for individuals who are doing the wrong things. We need our school safety agents to be at the appropriate levels, which means there should be at least 1,200 more right now. And the fact that the mayor is cutting services and instituting a hiring freeze across the city instead of stopping this ridiculous policy that he chose to misinterpret with the right to shelter that is costing the city billions of dollars, and it continues to cut from hardworking, tax-paying families to continue a policy that, quite frankly, a judge just said, reaffirmed what we've been saying all along, that they do not have to do this. The city has no requirement to do this. So, thank you for coming today. Thank you for helping us get the message out. We need to keep our children safe, and we need to start making sure that our NYPD, school safety agents included, NYPD is fully staffed to keep the city of New York safe.
Thank you to our Congresswoman. I know that you have to come to DC to change your plans so we can address this issue. Next, I'd like to introduce our borough's chief executive and someone who has led the fight against the city in many ways, our borough president, Vito Frisello.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman NYPDSchools. I'm very proud to be standing with some great group of elected officials that represent Staten Island so well. And once again, unfortunately, we're here to try to right the ship that is sailing in uncharted waters. This same group stood about a year ago in Travis as the migrant shelter and migrant crisis began to unfold, and we said then and we repeat now that this whole concept is unsustainable, and that sooner or later hardworking people of this community would suffer, and they are. And this is just one more exhibit of how young families who have young children in this school that ironically and coincidentally I attended many years ago, and a proud alum for that, but these folks have to suffer. The most important responsibility of government is to protect innocent people, and the most important thing we can do is to protect our young children in these schools. And let me be clear, the vast majority of kids and educators are great people. They just want to come and learn in a safe and secure environment. But every once in a while, reality reminds us there are some bad kids, and they want to do some bad things. And the blue line in between safety and crime are the school safety agents. And here we are in Staten Island that we're already understaffed, the most of any borough, almost 100. And rather than get more people out of the income out of this class, now we get no help. Not to mention the fact that, as the Congresswoman just mentioned, youth violence is on the rise. So we have a trend in a bad direction, and rather than get help, we're getting a kick in the teeth. So we're here together to stand united to say, we here on Staten Island need to remind the rest of the city what we think is important. And if you want to spend $12 billion or continue to spend $12 billion on the migrant crisis, so be it. But don't take it from the hardworking people of Staten Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borough President. Next, I want to introduce my partner in Albany, someone that has both a law enforcement background and an education background, as a member of the Education Committee in the State Assembly and the Higher Education Committee, Assemblyman MikeWReilly.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you to my colleagues. So everybody understands this is a bipartisan effort. Everybody standing behind us represent both sides of the aisle. We represent Community Education Council here on Staten Island, Community Education Council in Brooklyn, and the School Safety Coalition is here with us as well. Now think about that. This is an issue where we can all coalesce and we realize that there's a problem. So think about cutting that 250 school safety agent class. We heard the borough president and the congresswoman say that it's going to impact Staten Island even more. I go back to my days when I was on the CEC, starting in 2009. We were advocating for more school safety agents back then, and we were always understaffed. But think about it, the numbers that were given to you. Congresswoman said 3,900 school safety agents in New York City. Last year, there were 6,000 weapons recovered from schools. What's the ratio to that? 3,900 agents to 6,000 weapons. How does this impact your school? Well, if you have a high school and you have a level 3 agent, that's the supervisor, the one with the sergeant stripes on their arms. They're in charge of the high school. They have a school safety agent that got injured, is out, line of duty, or maybe out sick, maybe has the flu. They pull an agent from the middle school. The middle school now, they're level 3, has to look for an agent somewhere. because they may be only having 2 agents for a school of 1,400 students and 1 level 3. Think about what can happen at that moment. Our elementary schools, they all have 1 school safety agent. There's 1,800 school buildings in New York City, 3,900 agents. High schools have the most. As I explained, middle school's next. But our elementary schools, just 1. So this isn't just about the 250 that can help us as a Band-Aid right now. This is an ongoing effort that we need to continue because we see that there are potential dangers there. You know, the city actually heard us advocating over the last years to put buzzers and locked doors on the front, on all our schools. It was a long, hard-fought effort by many of us standing here today. We take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It's time that City Hall actually puts the money where it should go, to safety in our schools. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce partner in City Council, one that's been fighting the fight alongside with us, Councilman David Carr.
Thank you, Assemblyman Tannousis, for gathering us all here today, and to my colleagues, as always, for standing up and fighting for Staten Island and the city at large. As was said earlier, there's nothing more important than protecting innocent life, and none are more innocent and more in need of protection than our public school kids. When they walk in these doors each and every day here at IS2 and at every other public school across the 5 boroughs, the city is taking responsibility for their safety for as long as they're here. And critical to that mission are having the necessary amount of school safety agents. And it's ridiculous, beyond ridiculous, that we should be here discussing the cancellation of a needed class of school safety agents. We've spent, as a city, between $2.5 to $3 billion on the migrant crisis already. It's projected it'll be $12 billion over a 3-year period. And while it may not yet be known definitively that this is related to that, there, in my mind, could be no other reason why, mid-budget year, we're canceling a class that was budgeted for. We're seeing in this city the diminishment of resources that are supposed to be going to protect New Yorkers at large and taxpayers in particular, the people who pay their property taxes every quarter and expect to get as bare minimum of something in return. 10 days ago, the city canceled Staten Island's curbside e-waste pickup program, and now this. So my other question is, what's next? What next will be on the chopping block that is absolutely essential for Staten Islanders and Brooklynites and all New Yorkers that is now going to be lost? And it's unacceptable that this situation is unfolding as it is. And Assemblyman Reilly's correct. This mayor did something that none of his predecessors were able to do, which was to put buzzers and cameras for locking mechanisms in our schools. They started in June, July of this year, and it's projected that all elementary schools on Staten Island will be done by the end of this academic calendar. That's a huge achievement. Don't surrender what is shaping up to be a great record on public safety for our kids by canceling the school safety agent class. It doesn't make sense. It's one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. And the reality is that for many years, many people criticize law enforcement. Oh, we need community policing. Well, what a better example of community-based law enforcement than our school safety agents. They're embedded in these schools every single day. The kids, the faculty, they all know them by their first names. There's a long-standing generational relationships, oftentimes, with our school safety agents. Who better to step in and de-escalate a situation? Who better to step in quickly when there's any situation than our school safety agents? So this is a decision that is wrong on its face, and it needs to be reconsidered and overturned so that we in Staten Island and Brooklyn and other parts of the city get this needed school safety agents that we all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to present the Assembly Member representing the West Shore of Staten Island, Mr. SamForNYC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Assemblyman Sam Pirozzolo. And if any of you know me, my career pretty much started in education right here on Staten Island. In my opinion, education is the key to solving pretty much everything that ails us. You want to solve homelessness? Give a student an education to get a job that's a meaningful job that pays well. You want to solve the drug crisis? Give a student an education to know what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do. Everything starts with education. If you look at some of the things that are going on now, the test results that come in, our educational system has been failing a majority of New Yorkers, in particular minority New York City school children, for a very long time, for generations, if you will. We need to turn that around. We need a safe learning environment for our students to get that education. And by reducing the amount of school safety agents is not the right way to do it. We are having a hard time keeping our heads above water, educationally speaking, right now as it is. So if I may, I'm just going to read a couple of headlines, which are really not that hard to find. October 23rd, bomb threats, McKee, Curtis, Newdorp, 19-year-old, June 23rd, 19-year-old teen found with a gun at McKee High School. May 23rd, gun, knife, found near South Richmond High School, Mount Loretto. October 22, 14-year-old student shot outside of Tottenville High School. June 22. Massive brawl, 14-year-old stabbed at IS 49. The list goes on and on and on. There is no shortage of safety incidents. On my way here, I asked to see how many weapons were recovered this year. The number I got was 130. I said, wait a second, that can't be. This is November, school started in September. Does that include maybe last year from January on? 100, it doesn't make a difference how many weapons are found. Whether it's 1, 100, the number needs to be 0. This is another example of liberal policies where not only do we want to not put adults in jail, we have a no bail system, it's trickling down to our schools. How can we educate our children if we allow this type of behavior in our schools? It has to stop. So Mayor Adams, if I had the opportunity to ask you a question, the New York City Police Department has a tremendous, tremendous budget. There is no way that it cannot be said that the money to put these 250 agents back into the training academy to get them into our schools, it's just impossible that can't be done. There has been no reduction of ticketing agents. There's been no reduction of agents that go out and generate money for the schools or for the city. But the agents that keep our children, your children, safe, that we can't have. There has to be a cut. So I'm asking today to relook at that budget, and let's not only get these 250 agents back, but we need more. We need to go to the levels that we had before COVID, during COVID. This is just really not acceptable. Thank you very much for being here.
Next, I'd like to introduce Chief of Staff to the Minority Leader of the New York City Council, MikeWReilly, who couldn't be here today. I want to introduce his Chief of Staff, Mr. Frank Robachula.
Good morning, everyone. I'll be brief because, as usual, our elected officials have summed it up pretty well. But the key takeaway is, what if one of those weapons gets into the school? Just one. That's all that matters, is just one weapon. Right? What happens when all the violence that's outside the school, which has been deterred because the kids are afraid to go into the school, because they know that the other kids are protected. What happens when that comes into the school? That is the key takeaway today. And I thank all the electeds for being here, especially all of the media. There's a lot of media here, that's a great thing. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Mr. MikeWReilly, who works for Councilmember KamillahMHanks, who is the chairwoman of the Council Committee on Public Safety.
Thank you, Assemblyman. I'm representing Councilwoman KamillahMHanks. My name is MikeWReilly. She's the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and not 2 weeks ago we had a joint hearing between the Education and Public Safety Committee where we found out there were 3,930 school safety agents and there were 301 vacancies. This particular class of 250 was supposed to address the majority of those vacancies. That class will not happen now. That's a travesty. That's something we're calling on the mayor to correct, both as Assemblyman Reilly said, as Democrats and Republicans alike. We want to protect our children. Public safety's #1 goal is to protect our kids. And the way to do that is through school safety agents, the majority of which are women, the overwhelming majority of them who are women of color. This is an important job where, as the Assemblyman said, there's generational understanding of how these kids are, who they are, and what they do. And that helps with de-escalation. That helps with making sure that all the children in the school are safe. And what we want to do is make sure these 301 vacancies are filled. The overwhelming majority of those vacancies are on Staten Island and South Brooklyn. So we have to make sure that those get filled as well. Otherwise, we're just getting shortchanged once again. And now it's our kids that are getting shortchanged. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce a representative from District Attorney Michael McMahon's office, Mr. James Clinton.
Good morning, folks. James Clinton here from District Attorney Mike McMahon's office. The DA could not be here this morning, but we thought it was important to join our colleagues in elected office, Republican and Democrat, to urge the mayor to reverse his decision, because ultimately this decision serves no one, least of all our kids. You know, we see it each and every day at the DA's office. Law enforcement is asked to do more and more with less and less, and this is just another example of that. You know, at a time when juvenile felony arrests are up 40% on Staten Island, at a time when Staten Island has less NYPD patrol officers on our borough than we did in 1968, in a time when we've suffered 2 shootings in and around our schools, one in Tompkinsville, one in Tottenville. This is the wrong decision at the wrong time. And so we thank Assemblyman Tannousis for organizing today's press conference, and we look forward to working alongside our fellow elected officials in solidarity with the shared voice to urge the mayor to reverse his decision and to no longer jeopardize Staten Island's public safety any further. Thank you.
And I just want to recognize Ms. Vanessa Lamani, who is here representing Senator Scarcella Spaten, who couldn't be here today. But I just want to point something out before we move on. You know, this is a bipartisan effort in regards to Staten Island elected officials. Every single elected official on Staten Island, I can say, is supportive of the reinstatement of the 250 school safety agents. This has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with common sense. Public safety just makes common sense. So with that being said, I would like to introduce the individual that first notified me in regards to the cuts made to the school safety agents, Mr. John Riccatone, who is the first vice president of the Community Education Council for District 20, which is Southern Brooklyn. John?
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Riccatone from Community Board Education District 20 in Brooklyn, which covers Bath Beach, Bensonhurst, Dyka Heights, and some parts of Sunset Park. So as a liaison of 5 schools that we have to go to visits, I was met by a couple of principals, mainly 5, and then I spoke to them through email, and they state there is a need for school safety agents. So one school has 5 safety agents, and they actually go down to 3. And when another school needs another agent, they'll take that agent and send it to a different school. So a school that's supposed to have 5 agents now only has 2 agents. The school that has 1 agent is going on break for an hour for their meal. They're doing rounds, and a vice principal or an aide has to sit down while the aide is on, the school safety agent is on meal. Prior to pandemic of COVID, there was 5,063 agents. As of right now, there's 3,900. There's a need of school safety agents. And the class was canceled on October 27th of 2023, and the class was going on October 30th of 250 agents. And that's what we need. We need to get the agents in and help us with the safety of our communities and schools and the staff. Thank you, everybody.
Next, I'd like to introduce the president of the Community Education Council, District 31, which is Staten Island, Ms. Lucia Curatolo-Boylan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Assemblyman Tannousis and our electeds joining us this morning. I speak to you on behalf of the overwhelming amount of families shore to shore on Staten Island that have reached out to the Community Education Council and asked, how can we keep our children safe? Why are there not more school safety agents? Our council and the families of D31 urge the New York City DOE and our city's mayor to not only increase the number of school safety agents assigned to Staten Island schools, but the amount of agents assigned at each school. We urge the city, as we did in our school safety resolution, to use alternative metrics to determine officer staffing levels, as the current incident metric is not reflective of individual school needs. We have schools with enrollment of nearly 4,000 students on this island, and during a crisis, only four safety agents were available to cover them. It's just not safe. We support our safety agents receiving higher wages and better benefits to ensure employee retention, and we ask the city to invest in the safety of our children. The price of our children's lives is just a price too high to pay. Why must we wait for tragedy to spurn action? We implore the mayor to act today and reinstate the next class of safety agents to continue to increase the amount of safety agents here on Staten Island and in Brooklyn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're going to finish up strong here. So I am calling now Ms. MonaDavids, the founder of the New York City School Safety Coalition. Mona?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you to Assemblymember Tannousis, Borough President Vito Fossella, Assembly Members Reilly, Pirizzolo, and Councilman David Carr, who have always supported putting the safety of our children first. My name is MonaDavids, and I am the founder of the New York City School Safety Coalition. You know, parents are worried, and parents have questions for Mayor Adams. While we appreciate what he's done with installing the security system, we appreciate that he has provided bulletproof vests to our school safety agents, but at the same time, we do not understand why Mayor Adams is putting the interests of migrants, of illegal migrants, and I say that as an African immigrant and naturalized U.S. citizen. We don't understand why our children's safety has to be jeopardized because of this illegal migrant crisis. We had 250 school safety agents, who many of you may not be aware of. To become a school safety agent, you must be a U.S. citizen, not a green card holder and not a work authorized permit holder, but a U.S. citizen. We have 250 families now impacted by this cut. We have the safety of our children being endangered because of this migrant crisis. And it's not right. It is not right that our children are being put last. And it is certainly not okay that 250 families now are going to struggle. It is critical, especially with what's going on right now in New York City and throughout the world with this global geopolitical crisis, that we protect what is most precious, and that is our children. If Mayor Adams can continue to hire traffic agents, he certainly can reinstate that class of school safety agents. We are down throughout the city. Incidents have increased. Not only do we need school safety agents in our schools, protecting our children, our school community, our educators, our lunch workers, our parents, but we also need more police officers outside of our schools providing safe corridors. It's not just the school safety agents that have been cut. It's also the school safety officers, police officers, that have been transferred out of the school safety division that would provide safe corridors. So we're calling on Mayor Adams to put our children first, to protect our children, to put the safety of our children, and to put those 250 school safety agent cadets those families first. Our children must always come first before any illegal adult male and female migrants. This cut is directly because of the migrant crisis, and it's not right. So we implore Mayor Adams, put the safety of our children first. Thank you.
Did I say we're going to leave the best for last?
That was excellent.
Now I'd like to open it up to any questions.
What was the estimated cost of this class of 250 school agents?
I don't think we actually have those numbers. I know that the class was canceled. My understanding was that it was reduced to 150 at first, then it was canceled completely. But the cost of it is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to all the other money that this city spends. If you were to take a good, long, hard look at this city's budget, I will bet you that you will find plenty of wasteful spending that will not involve compromising the safety of the most vulnerable, which is our children and our elderly. So no matter what the cost is, to me, is irrelevant. You cannot put a price tag on protecting our children. Any other questions? Just a minute. Any other questions?
I also wanted to ask, did the city ever confirm, anyone in the Adams administration confirm that this decision was made because of the budget cuts? Because I did reach out to the city hall and they never gave their response.
No, so they confirmed that the class was canceled,
yes.
But they never confirmed the reason why it was canceled. But we were able to confirm that there is a hiring freeze. So you can connect your own dots. Obviously, the mayor has been very vocal in regards to the potential cuts that will occur as a result of the migrant crisis. So this is just the tip of the iceberg in regards to the cuts we believe we're going to see in the coming months.
I just wanted to address your question when you asked what's the cost. So the cost is the lives of our children. Just a month or so ago, we had a 13-year-old boy stabbed by another 13-year-old boy. Now, while this may have been on a city bus, they came from a New York City public school where they could have been under the eyes of a security agent who sees what's going on. But once they leave the school, it's out of their hands. So the cost is the lives of our children. The cost is the education of our children to live and go on and become productive members of society. So there's no dollar amount. We're talking about cost in the lives of our children, and this is a human tragedy that's being created right now.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you.